Boom, 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 boom. Hello, Julia Bucky. You're first. Bruno. HXTTPS. She's Rando. Jules Geese. Raise a Trumbull. Everybody's here. I put on a calmer kalimba cover today. Adriel, Zainab, Ratch, Jade, Rachel, Jade, I'm guessing. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you can see Dexter down here. Yeah. Mark's here. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Conk's Corner. My name is John Voth, and I am reading Harry Potter for a full hour every day. Can I please make a music suggestion for this chapter? Yeah, for sure. For sure, make one. Yeah, I'm down with that. Hello, Rachel being basic. She's asking how was my day off. I'll get to that in a second. I just want to, for anybody new that's tuning in on here or on YouTube, I'm reading an hour of Harry Potter every single day. I have not read the books before. I've only seen 2 of the movies when I was a teenager. Don't remember anything from them. And I started out doing this just because I want to connect with people, have a fun time with each other. And you know what? I've come to really love doing this. I want to, because you all love it so much, I want to give you the best reading that I can, while also poking fun of it. And I've just been enjoying it a lot. I'm enjoying seeing this community happen, people connecting with each other. So yeah, thank you for tuning in always. I really appreciate that. My day off was good. What the heck are you talking about, dude? My day off was good. I just spent a lot of time configuring my new computer, as you have to do when you get a new computer. Today was a little bit, it was a sad and beautiful day. Sad because my parents, who have Dexter's brother, Teddy, didn't have to, but they gave him away. They gave him away because they just found a family who could take better care of him. They wanted him to have as much, the best life possible, so they gave him away. Very sad. I love that dog too, so that's unfortunate. But I was going for a walk, and I was just with Dexter and taking a look around. Maybe this is a bit cheesy, maybe this is a bit schmaltzy, I don't care. Just thinking about how, like, this is a great time. We've got so much time, and we can make each other's lives better. You know, I always say you are loved, you have value, you have meaning. You know, maybe think of a person that you haven't had contact with for a while, that you maybe haven't thought of for a while, but who means something to you, maybe needs to hear something. Just think of a way that you can make their lives better, whether in a small or a big way. All right, write that name down. You don't have to write it down here, but write that name down and do something for that person. Say something, do something. I think it's a great time because we have so much time. Okay, so a couple of more other things. Yeah, please, I read all the comments afterwards. Oh yeah, I record every maybe recording so that I can read the comments afterwards. So please, no spoilers, no hints about anything that's coming up. I'm pretty excited for this chapter. I'm probably going to go long, so I'm taking a little bit of extra time here. Realistically, it's towards the end of the book. We're going to take more time. Yeah, if you want to catch up, go to my YouTube, the link in my bio, or if you're on YouTube, you're already there. There's also my Patreon, where we're reading The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury, and also The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Very exciting, very fun books. So if you want to check that out, check out my Patreon. I give 10% of those to the Trias Society in Vancouver. They help prevent child abuse and violence. Yeah, oh, and check out Amanda Anger. She's somewhere in the chat. She drew this cool little she drew a anyway, check out her drawing. It's very cool. Thank you, Amanda. Okay. Let's go. I'm in such a frazzle here. I don't even know where my glasses are. Can you see them anywhere?
No.
Where'd my glasses go? Oh, there they are. Found the glasses. Found them. All right, let's draw this on, shall we? Oh yeah, there was a music suggestion I gotta check out.
I have it.
You have the music suggestion?
I have it brought up, yeah.
Oh, what's it called?
The Story Continues, Extended.
Okay.
Specifically by the channel Music Games on YouTube.
Okay, The Story Continues Extended. Story Continues Extended. By what?
The
Music Games.
Music Games.
Okay. I'm putting this on. If it gets too much or distracts me, I might change it back. But thank you for the music suggestion. Here we go, everybody. We're gonna jump into this. Why is it not playing? What is going on? What is my life? Dun 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 dun. Very cool. Okay, let's do this. What happened last? Oh yeah, they just started heading into the maze for this last challenge. Okay. Harry kept looking behind him. The old feeling that he was being watched was upon him. The maze was growing darker with every passing minute as the sky overhead deepened to navy. He reached a second fork. "Point me," he whispered to his wand, holding it flat in his palm. The wand spun around once and pointed towards his right, into solid hedge. That way was north, and he knew that he needed to go northwest to the center of the maze. The best he could do was to take the left fork and go right again as soon as possible. The path ahead was empty too, and when Harry reached a right turn and took it, he again found his way unblocked. Harry didn't know why, but the lack of obstacles was unnerving him. Surely he should have met something by now. It felt as though the maze was luring him into a false sense of security. Then he heard movement right behind him. He held out his wand, ready to attack, but its beam fell only upon Cedric, who had just hurried out of the path on the right-hand side. Cedric looked severely shaken. The sleeve of his robes was smoking. Hagrid's blasted scroots," he hissed. "They're enormous. I only just got away." He shook his head and dived out of sight along another path. Keen to put plenty of distance between himself and the scroots, Harry hurried off again. Then, as he turned a corner, he saw a Dementor was gliding towards him. What? That's a big thing right up the top in this maze. A frickin' Dementor? 12 feet tall, its face hidden by its hood, its rotting, scabbed hands outstretched. It advanced, sensing its way blindly towards him. Wait a second, they're blind? What? Huh? I didn't know that. Are they blind? Harry could hear its rattling breath. He felt clammy coldness stealing over him, but knew what he had to do. He summoned the happiest thought he could, concentrated with all his might on the thought of getting out of the maze, and celebrating with Ron and Hermione, raised his wand and cried, "Expecto Patronum!" A silver stag erupted from the end of Harry's wand. I think their faces are all mouth. Holy crap, what are you talking about? Their faces are all mouth? Ah! Hi! I'm here to terrify you! Hey! A silver stag erupted from the end of Harry's wand and galloped towards the Dementor, which fell back and tripped over the hem of its robes. Harry had never seen a Dementor stumble. "Hang on," he shouted, advancing in the wake of his silver Patronus. "You're a boggart! Ridiculous!" Oh, okay. There was a loud crack, and the shapeshifter exploded in a wisp of smoke. The silver stag faded from sight. Harry wished it could have stayed. He could have used some company. But he moved on as quickly and quietly as possible, listening hard, his wand held high once more. Left, right, left again. Twice he found himself facing dead ends. He did the 4-point salute. He did the 4-point spell again. He did the 4-point spell again and found that he was going too far east. He turned back, took a right turn, and saw an odd golden mist floating ahead of him. Harry approached it cautiously, pointing the wand's beam at it. This looked like some kind of enchantment. He wondered whether he might be able to blast it out of the way. "Redacto," he said. The spell shot straight through the mist, leaving it intact. He supposed he should have known better. The reductor curse was for solid objects. What would happen if he walked through the mist? Was it worth chancing it, or should he double back? He was still hesitating when a scream shattered the silence. "Fleur!" Harry yelled. "Take it off. It's rumored that nobody who saw their real face lived to tell the tale because they have a cloak on and they take it only to deliver the kiss of death." Gotcha. There was silence. He stared all around him. What had happened to her? Her screams seemed to have come from somewhere ahead. He took a deep breath and ran through the enchanted mist. The world turned upside down. Harry was hanging from the ground with his hair on end, his glasses dangling off his nose, threatening to fall into the bottomless sky. He clutched them to the end of his nose and hung there, terrified. It felt as though his feet were glued to the grass, which had now become the ceiling. Below him, the dark, star-spangled heavens stretched endlessly. He felt as though if he tried to move one of his feet, he would fall away from the earth completely. Think, but what is he hanging from? Well, think, he told himself as all the blood rushed to his head. Think! But not one of his spells he had practiced had been designed to combat a sudden reversal of ground and sky. Did he dare move his foot? Oh, I think it's the mist that's flipping gravity or something like that. He could hear the blood pounding in his ears. He had two choices. Try and move, or send up red sparks and get rescued and disqualified from the task. Why? There's no point in doing that. Magic. Very funny, Jules. Very funny. He shut his eyes so he wouldn't be able to see the view of endless space below him, and pulled his right foot as hard as he could away from the grassy ceiling. Immediately, the world righted itself. Harry fell forwards onto his knees on the wonderfully solid ground. He felt temporarily limp with shock. He took a deep, steadying breath, then got up again and hurried forwards, looking back over his shoulder as he ran out of the golden mist, which twinkled innocently at him in the moonlight. Oh, me? I didn't do anything. Me? This little mist? No, I wouldn't do anything. He paused at a junction of two paths and looked around for some sign of Fleur. Dementors are described near the end of Book 3. Harry sees their face, no eyes, no nose. But, oh, right, yeah. Right. But no, he was looking around for some sign of Fleur. He was sure it had been she who had screamed. What had she meant? Was she all right? There was no sign of red sparks. Did that mean she had got herself out of trouble, or was she in such trouble that she couldn't reach her wand? Harry took the right fork. Harry took the Harry took the right fork with a feeling of increasing unease. But at the same time, he couldn't help thinking, one champion down. The cup was somewhere close by, and it sounded as though Fleur was no longer in the running. He'd got this far, hadn't he? What if he actually managed to win? Fleetingly, and for the first time since he'd found himself champion, he saw again that image of himself, raising the Triwizard Cup in front of the rest of the school. He met nothing for 10 minutes, except dead ends. Twice he took the same wrong turning. Finally, he found a new route, and started to jog along it, his wand light waving, making his shadow flicker and distort on the hedge walls. Then he rounded another corner and found himself facing a blast-ended Scroot. Cedric was right. It was enormous. 10 feet long, it looked more like a giant scorpion than anything. Its long sting was curled over its back. Its thick armor glinted in the light from Harry's wand, which he pointed at it. Stupefy! The spell hit the Scroot's armor and rebounded. Harry ducked just in time, but could smell burning hair. It had singed the top of his head. The Scroot... Buddy's back. Let's get him a bit over here. Oh, I can't move the chair. Whatever. It had singed the top of his head. The Scroot issued a blast of fire from its end and flew forwards towards him. Impedimenta! Harry yelled. The spell hit the Scroot's armor again and ricocheted off. Harry staggered back a few paces and fell over. Impedimenta! The Scroot was inches from him when it froze. He had managed to hit it on its fleshy, shell-less underside. Panting, he did it. Panting, Harry pushed himself away from it and ran hard in the opposite direction. The impediment jinx was not permanent. The Scroot would be regaining the use of its leg at any moment. He took a left path and hit a dead end. A right, that's boring. Yeah, it was kind of a quick fight, but, you know, Harry's stronger now, you know? Little creatures like that. He fought a dragon. Scroot's not going to do anything against Harry. Harry, he's my hero. He's so strong. I can't wait to see what he does in the middle of the maze. I can't wait. He took a left path and it hit a dead end, a right and hit another. Forcing himself to stop, heart hammering, he performed the 4-point spell again, backtracked, and chose a path that would take him northwest. He had been hurrying along a new path for a few minutes when he heard something in the path running parallel to his own, which made him stop dead. Live feed playing for people. Yeah, true. He had been hurrying... parallel to his own. "What are you doing?" yelled Cedric's voice. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" And then Harry heard Crumb's voice. "Crucio!" The air was suddenly full of Cedric's yells. Horrified, Harry began sprinting up his path, trying to find a way into Cedric's. When none appeared, he tried the reductor curse again. It wasn't very effective, but it burnt a small hole in the hedge, through which Harry forced his leg, kicking at the thick brambles and branches until they broke and made an opening. He struggled through it, tearing his robes, and looking to his right, saw Cedric jerking and twitching on the ground, Crumb standing over him. What's going on? Harry pulled himself up and pointed his wand at Crumb just as Crumb looked up. Crumb turned and began to run. "Stupefy!" Harry yelled. The spell hit Crumb in the back. He stopped dead in his tracks, fell forwards, and lay motionless, face down in the grass. Harry dashed over to Cedric, who had stopped twitching and was lying there panting, his hands over his face. What the heck's going on? "Are you all right?" Harry said roughly, grabbing Cedric's arm. "Yeah," panted Cedric. "Yeah, I don't believe it. He crept up behind me. I heard him, turned around, and he had his wand on me." Cedric got up. He was still shaking. He and Harry looked down at Crumb. "I can't believe this. I thought he was all right," Harry said, staring at Crumb. "So did I," said Cedric. "Did you hear Fleur scream earlier?" said Harry. "Yeah," said Cedric. "You don't think Crumb got her, too?" "I don't know," said Harry slowly. "Should we leave him here?" Cedric muttered. "No," said Harry. "I reckon we should send up red sparks. Someone will come and collect him. Otherwise he'll probably be eaten by a Scroot." "He deserved it. He'd deserve it," Cedric muttered. But all the same, he raised his wand and shot a shower of red sparks into the air, which hovered high above Crumb, marking the spot where he lay. "Spew time?" What is this? When does spew time happen? I've noticed a couple of times people shouting spew time. Oh man, when does spew time happen? Toilet time I get, but spew time. Harry and Cedric stood there in the darkness for a moment, looking around them. Then Cedric said, "Well, I suppose we'd better go on." "What?" said Harry. Yeah, right, John, it's always spew time. That's true. It was an odd moment. He and Cedric had been briefly united against Crumb. Now the fact that they were opponents came back to them both. They proceeded up the dark path without speaking. Then Harry turned left, and Cedric right. Cedric's footsteps soon died away. Harry moved on, continued to use the 4-point spell, making sure he was moving in the right direction. It was between him and Cedric now. His desire to reach the cup first was now burning stronger than ever. But he could hardly believe what he'd just seen Crumb do. The use of an unforgivable curse on a fellow human being meant a life term in Azkaban. That was what Moody had told him. Crumb surely couldn't have wanted the Triwizard Cup that badly. Harry sped up. Every so often he hit more dead ends. The increasing darkness made him feel sure he was getting near the heart of the maze. Then, as he strode down a long, straight path, he saw movement once again, and his beam of wand light hit an extraordinary creature, one which he had only seen in picture form in his monster book of monsters. It was a sphinx. Oh, okay. It had the body of an overlarge lion, great clawed paws, and a long, freakishly long nose that drooped all over the floor. Imagine this terrifying creature, but its nose is just like lying on the floor. It was like, rawr! It had a body of an overlarge lion, great clawed paws, and a long yellowish tail ending in a brown tuft. Its head, however, was that of a woman. She turned her long, almond-shaped eyes upon Harry as he approached. He raised his wand, hesitating. She was not crouching as if to spring, but pacing from side to side of the path, blocking his progress. Then she spoke, in a deep, hoarse voice. Sphinx, you are... No, how does that sound like? Ow. Yeah, sorry. You are very near your goal. The quickest way is past me. So will you move, please? Said Harry, knowing what the answer was going to be. No, she said, continuing to pace. Not unless you can answer my riddle. Answer on your first guess. I will let you pass. Answer wrongly, meow. I attack. Remain silent. I will let you walk away from me, meow, unscathed. Harry's stomach slipped several notches. It was Hermione who was good at this sort of thing, not him. He weighed his chances. If the riddle was too hard, he could keep silent, get away from her unharmed, and try and find an alternative route to the center. Okay, he said, can I hear the riddle? The Sphinx sat down upon her hind legs in the very center of the path and recited, meow, meow, meow. First think of the person who lives in disguise, who deals in secrets and tells naught but lies. Meow. Next, tell me what's always the last thing to mend, the middle and end of the end. And finally, give me the sound often heard during the search for a hard-to-find word. Meow! Now string them together, and answer me this. Which creature would you be unwilling to kiss? Okay, let's look at this. Let's see if I can figure this out. First, think of the person who lives in disguise, who deals in secrets and tells naught but lies. Spy, a Death Eater, who always in disguise. A person who lives in disguise. What do you think? I think spy or Death Eater.
I think a spy.
Spy?
I don't know.
Okay. Next, tell me what's always the last thing to mend. The middle of middle and end to end. The middle of middle and end of end. The middle of middle and end of end. Something to mend. Sewing, mending, sispo, what do you think?
I have no idea.
Can't figure that one out. The middle, and finally, give me the sound often heard during the search for a hard-to-find word. Spy some. Now string them together and answer me, which creature would you be unwilling to kiss? Spiders. Spider? I don't know. You got any guesses?
I have no idea.
No? Harry gaped at her. Could I have it again, more slowly? He asked tentatively. She blinked at him, smiled, and repeated the poem. Oh my God, John, you would not be a Ravenclaw. Most certainly not. Ah, my eye. Got something in it. Great meow. I wonder when you've been recreating it. Right now. Just made it up. All the clues lead up to a creature I wouldn't want to kiss? Harry asked. She merely smiled her mysterious smile. Harry took that for a yes. Harry cast his mind around. There were plenty of animals he wouldn't want to kiss. His immediate thought was a blast-ended scroot, but something told him that wasn't the answer. He'd have to try and work out the clues. A person in disguise, Harry muttered, staring at her. Who lies? That'd be an imposter. No, that's not my guess. A spy? I'll come back to that. Could you give me the next clue, please? She repeated the next lines of the poem. The last thing to mend, Harry repeated. No idea. Middle of middle? Could I have the last bit again? She gave him the last 4 lines. A sound often heard in the search for a hard-to-find word, said Harry. That'd be, hang on. Is a sound. The Sphinx smiled at him. I got it! I said spider! I said spider! I said it! It's me! I am Harry! I am Harry! It's me! I did it! I get the goblet of fire. I have to check the front of the book to look the name again. It's me! I'm Harry! Mark hates me right now. Spy, said Harry, pacing up and down himself. A creature I wouldn't want to kiss. A spider! The Sphinx smiled more broadly. She got up, stretched her front legs, and then moved aside for him to pass. Yes! 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 Thanks, said Harry. And I'm also really humble. And amazed at his own brilliance, he dashed forwards. He had to be close now. He had to be. His wand was telling him he was bang on course. As long as he didn't meet anything too horrible, he might be in with a chance. He had a choice of paths ahead. Point me, he whispered again to his wand, and it spun around and pointed him to the right-hand one. He dashed up this one and saw light ahead. The Triwizard Cup was gleaming on a plinth 100 yards away. Harry had just broken into a run when a dark figure hurtled out onto the path in front of him. Cedric was going to get there first. Cedric was sprinting as fast as he could towards the cup, and Harry knew he would never catch up. Cedric was much taller, had much longer legs. Then Harry saw something immense over a hedge to his left, moving quickly along a path that intersected with his own. It was moving so fast, Cedric was about to run into it, and Cedric, his eyes on the cup, had not seen it. The middle of the middle, the end of the end. Yeah, D. It's really clever. That's true. Then Harry saw something. Cedric! Harry bellowed. On your left! Cedric looked around just in time to hurl himself past the thing and avoid colliding with it. But, in his haste, he tripped. Harry saw Cedric's wand fly out of his hand as a gigantic spider stepped into the path and begun to bear down upon Cedric. Is this the same spider from the woods? What's that guy's name?
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, that dope spider. That spider was dope. Stupefy! Harry yelled again. The spell hit the spider's gigantic, hairy black butt. hairy black body. But for all the good it did, he might as well thrown a stone at it. The spider jerked, scuttled around, and ran at Harry instead. Stupefy! Impedimenta! Stupefy! But it was no use. Aragog, that was it. But it was no use. The spider was either so large or so magical that the spells were doing no more than aggravating it. Harry had one horrifying glimpse of 8 shining black eyes and razor-sharp pincers before it was upon him. Aragog time. Like that. It's Aragog time. He was lifted into the air in its front legs. Struggling madly, he tried to kick it. His leg connected with the pincers, and next moment he was in excruciating pain. He could hear Cedric yelling, "Stupefy!" too, but his spell had no more effect than Harry's. Harry raised his wand as the spider opened its pincers once more and shouted, "Expelliarmus!" It worked. The disarming spell made the spider drop him, but that meant Harry fell 12 feet onto his already injured leg, which crumpled beneath him. Without pausing to think, he aimed high at the spider's underbelly. as he had done with the fruit, and shouted, "Stupefy!" just as Cedric yelled the same thing. The two spells combined did what one alone had not. The spider kneeled over sideways, flattening a nearby hedge, and strewing the path with a tangle of hairy legs. "Harry!" he heard Cedric shouting. "You all right? Did it fall on you?" "No," Harry called back, panting. He looked down at his leg. It was bleeding badly. He could see some sort of thick, gluey secretion from the spider's pincers on his torn robes. He tried to get up, but his leg was shaking badly and did not want to support his weight. He leant against the hedge, gasping for breath, and looked around. Cedric was standing feet from the Triwizard Cup, which was gleaming behind him. "Take it then," Harry panted to Cedric. "Go on, take it. You're there." But Cedric didn't move. He merely stood there, looking at Harry. Then he turned to stare at the cup. Harry saw the longing expression on his face in its golden light. Cedric looked around at Harry again, who was now holding onto the hedge to support himself. Cedric took a deep breath. "You take it. You should win. That's twice you've saved my neck in here." "That's not how it's supposed to work," Harry said. He felt angry. His leg was very painful. He was aching all over from trying to throw off the spider. And after all his efforts, Cedric had beaten him to it, just as he'd beaten Harry to ask Cho to the ball. "The one who reaches the cup first gets the points. That's you. I'm telling you, I'm not going to win any races on this leg." Cedric took a few paces nearer to the stunned spider, away from the cup, shaking his head. "No," he said. "Stop being noble," said Harry irritably. "Just take it, and we can get out of here." Cedric watched Harry steadying himself, holding tight to the hedge. "You told me about the dragons," Cedric said. "I would have gone down on the first task if you hadn't told me what was coming." "I had help on that too," Harry snapped, trying to mop up his bloody leg with his robes. "You helped me with the egg. We're square." "I had help on the egg in the first place," said Cedric. "We're still square," said Harry, testing his leg gingerly. It shook violently as he put weight on it. He had sprained his ankle when the spider had dropped him. "You shouldn't get more points in the second task. You should have got more points in the second task," said Cedric mulishly. "You stayed behind to get all the hostages. I should have done that." "I was the only one who was thick enough to take that song seriously," said Harry bitterly. "Just take the cup." "No," said Cedric. He stepped over the spider's tangled legs to join Harry, who stared at him. Cedric was serious. He was walking away from the sort of glory Hufflepuff House hadn't had in centuries. "Go on," Cedric said. He looked as though this was costing him every ounce of resolution he had. But his face was set. His arms were folded. He seemed decided. What a guy! That's awesome. Harry looked from Cedric to the cup. For one shining moment, he saw himself emerging from the maze, holding it. He saw himself holding the Triwizard Cup aloft, heard the roar of the crowd, saw Cho's face shining with admiration, more clearly than he had ever seen it before. And then the picture faded, and he found himself staring at Cedric's shadowy, stubborn face. "Both of us," Harry said. "What?" "We'll take it at the same time. It's still a Hogwarts victory. We'll tie for it." Cedric stared at Harry. He unfolded his arms. You sure?" "Yeah," said Harry. "Yeah. We've helped each other out, haven't we? We both got here. Let's just take it together." For a moment, Cedric looked as though he couldn't believe his ears. Then his face split in a grin. "You're on," he said. "Come here." He grabbed Harry's arm below the shoulder and helped Harry limp towards the plinth where the cup stood. When they had reached it, they both held out a hand over one of the cup's gleaming handles. "1, 2, 3, said Harry. One, 2, 3. He and Cedric both grasped a handle. Instantly, Harry felt a jerk somewhere beneath his navel. His feet had left the ground. He could not unclench the hand holding the Triwizard Cup. It was pulling him onwards in a howl of wind and swirling color. Cedric at his side. Whoa, okay, end of chapter. I don't know what happened That was, first of all, really good of Cedric, and I don't know what's happening here. Somebody wrote sad time. You're indicating at something. Please don't do that, okay? No indications of what you're feeling about what's coming up, because now I know something sad's coming up. So please don't do that. Chapter 32, Flesh, Blood, and Bone. Harry felt his feet slam into the ground. His injured leg gave way, and he fell forwards. His hand let go of the Triwizard Cup at last. He raised his head. "Where are we?" he said. Cedric shook his head. He got up, pulled Harry to his feet, and they looked around. They had left the Hogwarts grounds completely. They had obviously traveled miles, perhaps hundreds of miles, for even the mountains surrounding the castle were gone. They were standing instead in a dark and overgrown graveyard. The black outline of a small church was visible beyond a large yew tree to their right. A hill rose above them to their left. Okay, wait. They were standing in a dark and overgrown graveyard. Oh.
Music.
Oh, right. Okay, I'm going to put on some creep music. Creep, creep, creep music. There we go. Is it happening? Putting on this. Oh, okay, so maybe when they grabbed it, there's a greater task to it. They say you have to get there first, but then there's probably a final ultimate task once they get zapped away to this place to see if you're actually... The black outline of a small church was visible beyond a large yew tree to their right. A hill rose above them to their left. Harry could just make out the outline of a fine old house on the hillside. Cedric looked down at the Triwizard Cup and then up at Harry. "Did anyone tell you the cup was a portkey?" he asked. "Nope," said Harry. He was looking around the graveyard. It was completely silent and slightly eerie. "Is this supposed to be part of the task?" "I don't know," said Cedric. He sounded slightly nervous. "One's out, do you reckon?" "Yeah," said Harry, glad that Cedric had made the suggestion rather than him, because they didn't want to seem like they wanted to both be macho or something. They pulled out their wands. Harry kept looking around him. He had, yet again, the strange feeling that they were being watched. "Someone's coming," he said, suddenly. Squinting tensely through the darkness, they watched the figure drawing nearer, walking steadily towards them between the graves. Harry couldn't make out a face, but from the way it was walking and holding its arms, he could tell that it was carrying something. Whoever they were short and wearing a hooded cloak pulled over their head to obscure their face. And several paces nearer, the space between them closing all the time, he saw that the thing in the person's arms looked like a baby. Or was it merely a bundle of robes? Sorry, but the final task is you have to take care of this baby for a year. Then you'll be a strong wizard. Harry lowered his wand slightly and glanced sideways at Cedric. Cedric shot him a quizzical look. They both turned back to watch the approaching figure. It stopped beside a towering marble headstone, and only 6 feet from them. For a second, Harry and Cedric and the short figure simply looked at each other. And then, without warning, Harry's scar exploded with pain. It was agony such as he had never felt in all his life. His wand slipped from his fingers as he put his hands over his face. His knees buckled. He was on the ground, and he could see nothing at all. His head was about to split open. From far away, above his head, he heard a high, cold voice saying, "Kill this bear." A swishing noise and a second voice, which screeched the words to the night. Avada-kedavra! A blast of green light blazed through Harry's eyelids, and he heard something heavy fall to the ground beside him. The pain in his scar reached such a pitch that he retched, and then it diminished. Terrified of what he was about to see, he opened his stinging eyes. "What is happening? I don't like it at all." Cedric was lying spread-eagled on the ground beside him. He was dead. Ah! What? Oh my gosh! What is a spare, and why is he dead? For a second that contained an eternity, Harry stared into Cedric's face, at his open gray eyes, blank and expressionless as the windows of a deserted house, at his half-open mouth, which looked slightly surprised. And then, before Harry's mind had accepted what he was seeing, before he could feel anything but numb disbelief, he felt himself being pulled to his feet. Oh my gosh! The short man in the cloak had put down his bundle, lit his wand, and was dragging Harry toward... Who's this short, freaky man that just killed Cedric? Ugh. Screw you, man, and was dragging Harry towards the marble headstone. Harry saw the name upon it flickering in the wand light before he was forced around and slammed against it. Tom Riddle. Okay, spare as in like unnecessary. Oh my gosh, they just killed him for no reason. The cloaked man was now conjuring tight cords around Harry, tying him from neck to ankles to the headstone. Harry could hear shallow, fast breathing from the depths of the hood. He struggled, and the man hit him with a hand that had a finger missing. And Harry realized who was under the hood. It was Wormtail. "You!" he gasped. But Wormtail, who had finished conjuring the ropes, did not reply. Oh, okay. Tom Riddle was... Okay, they'll explain it. He was busy checking the tightness of the cords, his fingers trembling uncontrollably, fumbling over the knots. Once sure that Harry was bound so tightly to the headstone that he couldn't move an inch, Wormtail drew a length of some black material. So they had planned this. They had planned for Harry to win, and to get to the thing so they could zap him over where nobody else could defend him or get to him. And Bagman was in on it. He's trying to get Harry winning to the very end of it. Yeah. And they needed Crouch out of the picture because Crouch would have found out that Bagman was a Death Eater. Harry couldn't make a sound. Wormtail drew a length of some black material from the inside of his cloak and stuffed it roughly into Harry's mouth. Then, without a word, he turned from Harry and hurried away. Harry couldn't make a sound, nor could he see where Wormtail had gone. He couldn't turn his head to see beyond the headstone. He could see only what was right in front of him. Cedric's body was lying some 20 feet away. Some way beyond him, glinting in the starlight, lay the Triwizard Cup. Harry's wand was on the ground at his feet. The bundle of robes that Harry had thought was a baby was close by, at the foot of his grave. It seemed to be stirring fretfully. What is this freaky baby? What is going on? Harry watched it, and his scar seared with pain again, and he suddenly knew that he didn't want to see what was in those robes. He didn't want that bundle opened. He could hear noises at his feet. He looked down and saw a gigantic snake slithering through the grass, circling the headstone where he was tied. You know what? I'm not going to read any comments as I go through this, just in case. He could hear noises at his feet. He looked down and saw a gigantic snake slithering through the grass, circling the headstone where he was tied. Wormtail's fast, wheezy breathing was growing louder again. It sounded as though he was forcing something heavy across the ground. Then he came back within Harry's range of vision, and Harry saw him pushing a stone cauldron to the foot of the grave. It was full of what seemed to be water. Harry could hear it slopping around. And it was larger than any cauldron Harry had ever used. A great stone belly large enough for a full-grown man to sit in. The thing inside the bundle of robes on the ground was stirring more persistently, as though it was trying to free itself. Now Wormtail was busying himself at the bottom of the cauldron with a wand. Suddenly there were cracking flames beneath it. The large snake slithered away into the darkness. The liquid in the cauldron seemed to heat very fast. The surface began not only to bubble, but also to send out fiery sparks, as though it was on fire. The surface. Okay, gotcha. Stream was thickening, blurring the outline of Wormtail tending to the fire. The movements beneath the cloak became more agitated, and Harry heard the high, cold voice again. Hurry! The whole surface of the voice was alight with sparks now. It might have been encrusted with diamonds.
It is ready, master. Now,
said the cold voice. Wormtail pulled open the robes on the ground, revealing what was inside them, and Harry let out a yell that was strangled in the wad of material blocking his mouth. It was as though Wormtail had flipped over a stone and revealed something ugly, slimy, and blind, but worse, 100 times worse. The thing Wormtail had been carrying had the shape of a crouched human child, except that Harry had never seen anything less like a child. It was hairless and scaly-looking, a dark, raw, reddish black. Its arms and legs were thin and feeble, and its face, no child alive ever had a face like that, was flat and snake-like, with gleaming red eyes. Ayah! The thing seemed almost helpless. It raised its thin arms, put them around Wormtail's necks, and Wormtail lifted it. As he did so, his hood fell back, and Harry saw the look of revulsion on Wormtail's weak, pale face in the wormlight as he carried the creature to the rim of the cauldron. Well. For one moment, Harry saw the evil, flat face illuminated in the sparks dancing on the surface of the potion. And then Wormtail lowered the creature into the cauldron. There was a hiss, and it vanished below the surface. Harry heard its frail body hit the bottom with a soft thud. Still can't believe Cedric's dead. That's crazy. Let it drown, Harry thought, his scar burning almost past endurance. Please, let it drown. Wormtail was speaking. His voice shook. He seemed frightened beyond his wits. He raised his wand, closed his eyes, and spoke to the night.
Bone of the Father, unknowingly given, you will renew your son.
The surface of the grave at Harry's feet cracked. Horrified, Harry watched as a fine trickle of dust rose into the air at Wormtail's command. And fell softly into the cauldron. The diamond surface of the water broke and hissed. It sent sparks in all directions and turned a vivid, poisoning-looking blue. This is a lot. It's a lot. And now Wormtail was whimpering. He pulled a long, thin, shining silver dagger from inside his robes. His voice broke into petrified sobs.
Flesh of the servant, willingly given, you will revive your master.
He stretched his right hand out in front of him, the hand with the missing finger. He gripped the dagger very tightly in his left hand and swung it upwards. Harry realized what Wormtail was about to do a second before it happened. He closed his eyes as tightly as he could, but he could not block the scream that pierced the night, that went through Harry as though he had been stabbed with a dagger too. Oh, come on, man. Wormtail, what is up? Just get eaten by a snake. Stop putting yourself through this. Just give yourself to the snake. He heard something fall to the ground, heard Wormtail's anguished panting, then a sickened splash as something was dropped into the cauldron. Harry couldn't bear to look, but the potion had turned a burning red. The light of it shone through Harry's closed eyelids. Wormtail was gasping and moaning with agony. Not until Harry felt Wormtail's anguished breath on his face did he realize that Wormtail was right in front of him, and then they kissed.
Blood of the enemy, forcibly taken, you will resurrect your foe.
Harry could do nothing to prevent it. He was tied too tightly. Squinting down, struggling hopelessly at the ropes binding him, He saw the shining silver dagger shaking in Wormtail's remaining hand. He felt its point penetrate the crook of his right arm, the blood seeping down the sleeve of his torn robes. Wormtail, still panting with pain, fumbled in his pocket for a glass phial and held it to Harry's cut, so that a dribble of blood fell upon it, into it. He staggered back to the cauldron with Harry's blood. He poured it inside. The liquid within turned instantly a blinding white. Wormtail, his job done, dropped to his knees beside the cauldron, then slumped sideways and lay on the ground, cradling the bleeding stump of his arm, gasping and sobbing. The cauldron was simmering, sending its diamond sparks in all directions, so blindingly bright that it turned all else to velvety blackness. Nothing happened. Let it have drowned, Harry thought. Let it have gone wrong. And then suddenly, the sparks emanating from the cauldron were extinguished. Yeah, I mean, the kids reading this, they're probably like, ah! Ah! Oh, man. And then suddenly the sparks emanating from the cauldron were extinguished. A surge of white steam billowed thickly from the cauldron instead, obliterating everything in front of Harry, so that he couldn't see Wormtail or Cedric or anything but vapor hanging in the air. It's gone wrong, he thought. It's drowned. Please, please let it be dead. But then, through the mist in front of him, he saw, with an icy surge of terror, the dark outline of a man, tall and skeletally thin, rising slowly from inside the cauldron. "Robe me," said the high, cold voice from behind the steam, and Wormtail, sobbing and moaning, still cradling his mutilated arm, scrambled to pick up the black robes from the ground, got to his feet, reached up, and pulled them one-handed over his master's head. The thin man stepped out of the cauldron, staring at Harry, and Harry stared back into the face that had haunted his nightmare for 3 years. Whiter than a skull, with wide, livid, scarlet eyes, and a nose that was as flat as a snake's, with slits for nostrils. Lord Voldemort had risen again. Holy crap. That was a crazy last bit to this chapter. Holy smokes. Ugh. He's back. He's back, baby. He is back. Man, that was crazy. Cedric's dead. Just like that. Just like that. Meant nothing. Meant nothing at all. And now, Wormtail, he's just in such subjugation to him. I would just be like, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth being tortured forever. Just take me now, Snake. Eat me slowly, but at least I'm gone then. You know? Ugh. And then Lord Voldemort just you know, making all this happen. Making all this happen. He planned it all out from the beginning of this book, didn't he? What a guy. Okay, I'm going to decide if I'm going longer now or not. Let's see. We got 5:59 till 6:36. 5:59. Oh, wait. 5:59 to... how long is this one? 5:59 to 6:59, 5:71. I'll go a bit longer. I'll go a bit longer today. Okay? I want to read this. I want to hear Voldemort. I want to know what's going on. Okay, I'm going to end... Oh, actually, I'm going to answer these questions, and then I'll tell you what I'm going to do. How astounded are you by this chapter? Very astounded. It's a crazy chapter. She just, Rowling I'm talking about. She's just like, I'm a drop a load on these mofos. She just, oh, damn, she landed on this one. Are you doing okay, John? I'm a bit overwhelmed. Sherrigal. Predictions for the ending. Oh, yeah, predictions. Okay, so... Oh, gosh. Okay, let me think. What is happening here? How is he going to get out of this? Nobody's going to come to his rescue. I hope nobody comes to his rescue. I really do. I hope this. Okay, here's my premonition. I say that Voldemort, since they're linked, here's my prediction. They're linked, and he wants to get stronger, so he lets Harry go. That's what I think. Did you hear my premonition?
I did. You think because they're linked, he wants Harry to be stronger?
No, Voldemort wants to get stronger.
Oh, right, yeah.
So he lets Harry go. That's my premonition.
Okay.
Because I don't think Rowling's going to let somebody just Deus Ex Machina come in and save him. I really hope she doesn't do that. And it has to be out of Harry's own solution or something. So I think he's going to let him go. Would you have been as noble as Harry and Cedric in their position taking the cup? I think everybody would say yes, especially those situations. They would take a bullet for you and all that kind of stuff. You never know until that situation happens. I say yes, who knows? You might have to skip reading these comments because there was a bunch of spoilers. Oh, really? That sucks. Please don't spoil the comments because I really love reading them. People, that really sucks. What was Crumb playing at? I think he was trying to stop them from getting there. He knew through Karkaroff. That's what I think. Are you getting to the series more? Well, yeah. I'm on the 4th book, so I have to be. So what's gonna go down next in the graveyard? I think I already threw a little prediction there. Okay. Oh yeah, the songs. Sorry, I gotta find my premonition songs and drinking water songs. Okay, I'm gonna end this stream. I have to get a little bit of water. It might be a minute or two before I'm back on, so just patience and log back in with me. Okay, here, see you in a second.
Eyeballs constantly.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm gonna wait a second until everybody logs in. Me and Mark were just discussing how it's not. Oh well, I'll just wait till people get on. Actually, before I talk to one person that's logged in. Welcome back, everybody. Oh, let me get some music going again. Probably the creepy music's good. Yeah, the creepy music's probably pretty good for all this. Hey, welcome back. Me and Mark were just talking about Harry's not going on there. Mark's not reading the comments either because he doesn't want to spoil for himself. But it's not Mark's role to police who's doing spoilers. Okay. He can tell me afterwards if something was spoilery. It's also not your responsibility to spoil. Just like afterwards, just text me or message me and say like, hey, there's spoilers in there. Don't read the comments. Okay? You don't need to police each other in the chat. Just have fun. And don't spoil anything. Okay, let's get back. This book came out 20 years ago, and honestly, I'm still in shock. Right? Yeah, Kaylee, I know. It's really shocking.
It's so outlandish, and I think one of the best examples is like it took you a while. I remembered this part just before it happened.
Oh, you did?
I was like, oh yeah, I know that this happened. But it was interesting for me to see you because you were like, still like, oh, I guess this is the final part of the tournament, and like that it was supposed to be like this the whole time. And
yeah.
It seemed like you didn't even really suspect Voldemort until like quite a while.
No, I didn't. I was like, oh, they got like some other challenge that they have to overcome. All of a sudden, there's little slimy, freaky baby Voldemort. We like, so gross. Did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
And then Cedric. And
instantaneously.
it's just like it happens so quickly, and it moves on so quickly. It's like Cedric was lying spread-eagled, looked into his eyes. He's gone, and they're just like, oh, we're like, oh, and it probably like because she's walking us through what Harry's probably going through too. He's like, what? And this crazy stuff happens. It's all very shocking, very, very shocking. Yeah. Okay, reading along. Oh, healthcare workers, thank you so much.
Oh yeah, woo!
Thank you, healthcare workers. We just missed it, but thank you so much for what you do. Oh, spilled a little bit of water, but not much, Nathan. Sorry. Just tiny, a little bit on one page. Okay, here we go. Chapter 33. Yeah, you know what? I need to pin a comment at the bottom. The only annoying thing you have to do it like while you're in the stream. But we'll get to that. I'll get to that. I'll do it for next time. Chapter 33. The Death Eaters. Voldemort looked away from Harry and began examining his own body. His hands were like large, pale spiders. Ugh. His long, white fingers caressed his own chest. His arms, his face, the red eyes, whose pupils were slits, like a cat's, gleamed still more brightly through the darkness. He held up his hands and flexed the fingers, his expression rapt and exultant. He took not the slightest notice of Wormtail, who lay twitching and bleeding on the ground, nor of the great snake, which had slithered back into sight and was circling Harry again, hissing. Voldemort slipped one of those unnaturally long-fingered hands into a deep pocket and drew out a wand. He caressed it gently, too, and then he raised it and pointed it at Wormtail, who was lifted off the ground and thrown against the headstone where Harry was tied. He fell to the foot of it and lay there, crumpled up and crying. Voldemort turned his scarlet eyes upon Harry, laughing a high, cold, mirthless laugh. What is it? That's it. Wormtail's robes were shining with blood now. He had wrapped the stump of his arm in there.
My lord,
he choked.
My lord, you promised. You did promise.
Hold
out your arm,
said Voldemort lazily.
Oh, Master, thank you, Master.
He extended the bleeding stump, but Voldemort laughed again.
The other arm, Wormtail. Master, please, please.
Voldemort bent down and pulled out Wormtail's left arm. He forced the sleeve of Wormtail's robes up past his elbow, and Harry saw something upon the skin there, something like a vivid red tattoo, a skull with a snake protruding from its mouth. Yeah, that's what I thought. The same image that had appeared in the sky at the Quidditch World Cup, the dark mark. Voldemort examined it carefully, ignoring Wormtail's uncontrollable weeping.
It is back. No, I'm trying to find his voice. It is back,
he said softly.
They will have noticed it, and now we shall see. No, we shall know.
He pressed his long white forefingers to the brand on Wormtail's arm. The scar on Harry's forehead seared with a sharp pain again, and Wormtail let out a fresh howl. Voldemort removed his fingers from Wormtail's mark, and Harry saw that it had turned jet black, a look of cruel satisfaction on his face. Voldemort straightened up, threw back his head, and stared around at the dark graveyard.
How many will brave enough to return when they felt it?
He whispered, his gleaming red eyes upon the stars.
And how many will be foolish enough to stay away?
He began to pace up and down before Harry and Wormtail, eyes sweeping the graveyard all the time. Deeper, I think, doesn't need to be strained. A cruel smile twisting his snake-like face.
You stand, Harry Potter, upon the remains of my late father,
he hissed softly.
A muggle and a fool, very, very like your dear mother, but they had their uses, did they not? Your mother died to defend you as a child, and I killed my father, and see how useful he has proved himself in death.
Voldemort laughed again. Up and down he paced, looking all around him as he walked, and the snake continued to circle the grass. Voldemort's not a creepy babe anymore. His power's coming back, including his voice. Voldemort laughed again. Up and down he paced, looking all around him as he walked, and the snake continued to circle in the grass.
You see that house upon the hillside, Potter? My mother lived there. My father, a witch who lived here in this village, fell in love with him, but he abandoned her when she told him what she was. He didn't like magic. my father. He left her and returned to his muggle parents before I was even born, Potter. And she died, giving birth to me, leaving me to be raised in a muggle orphanage. But I vowed to find him. I revenged myself upon him, that fool who gives me his name. Tom Riddle.
Still he paced, his red arms darting from grave to grave.
Listen to me. Reliving family history,
He said quietly.
Why, I am growing quite sentimental. But look, Harry, my true family returns.
The air was suddenly full of the swishing of cloaks. Between graves, behind the yew tree, in every shadowy space, wizards were apparating. Does that voice work for grown-up Voldemort? Let me know. I'm asking for advice now. All of them were hooded and masked, and one by one they moved forwards, slowly, cautiously, as though they could hardly believe their eyes. Voldemort stood in silence, waiting for them. Then one of the Death Eaters fell to his knees, crawled towards Voldemort, and kissed the hem of his black robes.
Master,
He murmured. The Death Eaters behind him did the same. Oh, this is so creepy. Ugh. Each of them approaching Voldemort on his knees and kissing his robes before backing away and standing up, forming a silent circle which enclosed Tom Riddle's grave, Harry, Voldemort, and the sobbing and twitching heap that was Wormtail. Yet they left gaps in the circle. It's good. Okay, cool. Yet they left gaps in the circle, as though waiting for more people. Voldemort, however, did not seem to expect more. He looked around at the hooded faces, and though there was no wind, a rustling seemed to run around the circle, as though it had shivered. Oh, that is such good description. Creepy.
Welcome, Death Eaters,
said Voldemort quietly.
13 years since last we met. Yet you answer my call as though it was yesterday. We are still united under the Dark Mark, then, or are we?
He put back his terrible face and sniffed, his slit-like nostrils widening, a bit more sharp and snake-like, maybe? Okay. Yeah, clearly is proud and wants to be heard. Pretty much a cult leader, yeah. But, okay, it's true. Sharp and snake-like. Yeah, that's right.
I smell guilt, he said. There is a stench of guilt upon the air.
A second shiver ran around the circle, as though each member of it longed, but did not dare, to step back from him.
I see you all, whole and healthy, with your powers intact. Such prompt appearances. And I ask myself, why did this band of wizards never come to the aid of their master, to whom they swore eternal loyalty?
No one spoke. No one moved except Wormtail, who was upon the ground, still sobbing over his bleeding arm.
And I answer myself, whispered Voldemort. They must have believed me broken. They thought I was gone. They slipped back among my enemies, and they pleaded innocence and ignorance and bewitchment. And then I asked myself, but how could they have believed I would not rise again? They who knew the steps I took long ago to guard myself against mortal death. They who had seen proofs of the immensity of my power in the times when I was mightier than any wizard living. And I answer myself, perhaps they believed a still greater power could exist. One that could vanquish even Lord Voldemort. Perhaps now they pay allegiance to another, Perhaps that champion of commoners, of mudbloods and muggles, Albus Dumbledore.
At the mention of Dumbledore's name, the members of the circle stirred, and some muttered and shook their heads. Voldemort ignored them.
It is a disappointment to me. I confess myself disappointed.
One of the men suddenly flung himself forwards. Breaking the circle, trembling from head to foot, he collapsed at Voldemort's feet.
Master, he shrieked. Master, forgive me. Forgive us all.
Voldemort began to laugh. He raised his wand.
Crucio!
The Death Eater on the ground writhed and shrieked. Harry was sure the sound must carry to the houses around. Let the police come, he thought desperately. Anyone, anything. Voldemort raised his wand. The tortured Death Eater lay flat upon the ground, gasping.
Get up, Avery, said Voldemort softly. Stand up. You ask for forgiveness. I do not forgive. I do not forget. 13 long years. I want 13 years repayment before I forgive you. Wormtail here has paid some of his debts already. Have you not, Wormtail?
He looked around at Wormtail, who continued to sob.
You return to me not out of loyalty, but out of fear of your old friends. You deserve this pain, Wormtail. You know that, don't you? Yes, Master, moaned Wormtail. Please, Master, please. Yet you helped return to my body,
said Voldemort coolly, watching Wormtail sob on the ground.
Worthless and treacherous as you are, you helped me, and Lord Voldemort rewards his helpers.
Voldemort raised his wand again and whirled it through the air. A streak of what looked like molten silver hung shining in the wand's wake. Hi, Surface of the Sun music. Momentarily shapeless, it writhed, and then formed itself into a gleaming replica of a human hand, bright as moonlight, which soared downwards and fixed itself upon Wormtail's bleeding wrist. Whoa! What am I putting it over there for? Wormtail's sobbing suddenly stopped, abruptly, his breathing harsh and ragged. He raised his head and stared in disbelief at the silver hand, now attached seamlessly to his arm, as though he were wearing a dazzling glove. He flexed the shining fingers then, trembling, picked up a small twig on the ground and crushed it into powder.
My lord, he whispered. Master, it is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
He scrambled forwards on his knees and kissed the hem of Voldemort's robes.
May your loyalty never waver again, Wormtail, said Voldemort. Never, my lord. Never, my lord.
Wormtail stood up and took his place in the circle, staring at his powerful new hand, his face still shining with tears. Voldemort now approached the man on Wormtail's right.
Lucius, my slippery friend, he whispered, halting before him. I am told that you have not renounced the old ways, though to the world you present a respectable face. You are still ready to take the lead in a spot of Muggle torture, I believe. Yet you never tried to find me, Lucius. Your exploits at the Quidditch World Cup were fun, I dare say, but not your energies have been better directed towards finding and aiding your master.
Lucius. If Lucius is an important character, if he is, throw some adjectives.
Lucius Malfoy.
I didn't realize it was that Lucius until right now. Oh my gosh, what?
At least that's what I'm guessing. Nobody else is named Lucius.
Did they say his name before this? No.
As a Death Eater? No. I don't think it was.
No, this is the first time he's in the circle.
Well, yeah.
Oh, damn! This is crazy. I knew it, but I mean, I didn't call it, but I knew it. Lucius Malfoy.
You also glazed over slippery friend. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. Oh, man. Lucius Malfoy. But it's also kind of evidence. It's kind of evidence that he is one. But still, it's crazy to have that confirmed. Lucius Malfoy. Okay. Damn, son. I just glazed over that. Oh, man. Where did we stop? Lucius, my slippery friend, right? Man, that was crazy.
Lucius, my slippery friend,
He whispered, halting before him.
I am told that you have not renounced the old ways. Though to the world you present a respectable face, you are still ready to take the lead in a spot of muggle torture, I believe. Yet you have never tried to find me, Lucius. Your exploits at the Quidditch World Cup were fun, I dare say. But might not your energies have been better directed towards finding and aiding your master?
My lord, I was constantly on the alert, came Lucius Malfoy's voice swiftly from beneath the hood. Had there been any sign from you, any whisper of your whereabouts, I would have been at your side immediately. Nothing could have prevented me.
And yet you run from my mark. When a faithful Death Eater sent it into the sky last summer,
said Voldemort lazily, and Mr. Malfoy stopped talking abruptly.
Yes, I know about that, Lucius. You have disappointed me. I expect more faithful service in future.
Of course, my lord. Of course. You are merciful. Thank you. Voldemort moved on and stopped, staring at the space large enough for two people, which separated Malfoy and the next man.
The Lestranges should be here,
said Voldemort quickly.
but they are entombed in Azkaban. They were faithful. They went to Azkaban rather to announce me. When Azkaban is broken up, the Lestranges will be honored beyond their dreams. The Dementors will join us. They are natural allies. We will recall the banished giants. I shall have all my devoted servants return to me, and an army of creatures whom all shall fear.
He walked on. I kind of am picturing his voice. I'm picturing his voice kind of changing constantly. Like a snake. Maybe that's where my impulse is going. So I'll try that a bit more. See how that feels. Because slippery, fluid. He walked on. Some of the Death Eaters he passed in silence, but he paused before others and spoke to them.
McNair, destroying dangerous beasts for the Ministry of Magic now Wormtail tells me. You shall have better victims than that soon, McNair. Lord Voldemort will provide.
Thank you, Master. Thank you, murmured McNair.
And here,
Voldemort moved on to the two largest hooded figures. He body rolls as he speaks. Yeah, right.
and here,
Voldemort moved on to the two largest hooded figures.
We have Crabbe.
You will do...
Crabbe, Goyle.
You will do better this time.
You will do better this time. Will you not, Crabbe? And you, Goyle?
They bowed clumsily, muttering dully. Yes, Master. Oh, we will, Master. I'm assuming these are the parents of Crabbe and Goyle, not the actual Crabbe and Goyle. No, those are their first names. They are Death Eaters! Oh! Oh! And I bet oh! I thought they were just two idiots. They're probably still idiots. But I thought they were just two idiots. Oh man, crazy. They bowed clumsily, muttering dully, Yes, master. We will, master.
The same goes for you.
Not, said Voldemort quietly, as he walked past a stooped figure in Mr. Goyel's window. Do we know N-O-T-T? Not? Oh, they're the parents.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Okay. Not. Let me know about Not.
My lord, I prostrate myself before you. I am your most faithful.
That will do,
said Voldemort. He had reached the largest gap of all. Parents. Yeah, I got it. It's parents. He had reached the largest gap of all, and he stood surveying it with his blank red eyes, as though he could see people standing there.
And here we have 6 missing Death Eaters, 3 dead in my service, 1 too cowardly to return. He will pay. 1 who I believe has left me forever. He will be killed, of course. And 1 who remains my most faithful servant, and who has already re-entered my service.
The Death Eaters stirred. Harry saw their eyes dart sideways at each other through their masks.
He is at Hogwarts, that faithful servant, and it was through his efforts that our young friend arrived tonight.
Yes, said Voldemort, a grin curling his lipless mouth, as the eyes of the circle flashed in Harry's direction.
Harry Potter has kindly joined us for my rebirthing party. One might go so far as to call him my guest of honor.
There was a silence. Then the Death Eater... What is that creepy laugh? Then the Death Eater to the right of Wormtail stepped forward, and Lucius... One second, I'm going to click on me. There we go. Now I can actually see what people are writing. Rebirthing party. It's pretty gross. Pretty gross.
Hey, everybody. I'm 0 years old. I can't drink until I'm 18.
Where are we? There was a silence. Then the Death Eater to the right of Wormtail stepped forward, and Lucius Malfoy's voice spoke from under the mask. Who stepped forward? Lucius Malfoy. Master, we crave to know. We beg you to tell us how long you have achieved this miracle. How you managed to return to us.
What a story it is, Lucius, said Voldemort. And it begins and ends with my young friend here.
He walked lazily over to the stand next to Harry, so that the eyes of the whole circle were upon the 2 of them. The snake continued to circle. Oh, music, yes. It probably went finished. That's what needs to restart.
You know, of course, that they have called upon this boy my downfall.
Voldemort said softly, his red eyes upon Harry, whose scar began to burn so fiercely that he almost screamed in agony.
You will know that on the night I lost my powers and my body, I tried to kill him. His mother died in the attempt to save him, and unwittingly provided him with the protection I admit I had not foreseen. I could not touch the boy.
Voldemort raised one of his long white fingers and put it very close to Harry's cheek.
His mother left upon him the traces of her sacrifice. This is old magic. I should have remembered it. It was foolish to overlook it. But no matter. I can touch him now.
Stew time. Harry felt the cold tip of the long white finger touch him and thought his head would burst with pain. Voldemort laughed softly in his ear, then took the finger away and continued addressing the Death Eaters.
I miscalculated, my friends. I admit it. My curse was deflected by the woman's foolish sacrifice, and it rebounded upon me. Pain beyond pain, my friends. Nothing could have prepared me for it. I was ripped from my body. I was less than spirit, less than the meanest ghost. But still, I was alive. What I was, even I do not know. I, who have gone farther than anyone along the path that leads to immortality. You know my goal. To conquer death. And now I was tested, and it appeared that one or more of my arrangements had worked. For I had not been killed, though the course should have done it. Nevertheless, I was as powerless as the weakest creature alive, and within the means to help it myself. For I had no body, and every spell which might have helped me required the use of my wand. I remember only forcing myself sleeplessly, endlessly, second by second, to exist. I settled in a faraway place in a forest, and I waited. Surely one of my faithful Death Eaters would try and find me. One would come and perform the magic I could not, to restore me to a body. But I waited in vain.
The shiver ran once more around the circle of listening Death Eaters. Voldemort let the silence spiral horribly before continuing.
Only one power remained to me. I could possess the body of others. But I dared not go where the other humans were plentiful, for I knew that the auras were still abroad and searching for me. I sometimes inhabited animals, snakes, of course, being my preference. But I was a little better off inside than as pure spirit, for their bodies were ill adapted to perform magic, and my possession of them shortened their lives. None of them lasted long. Then, 4 years ago, the means for my return seemed assured. A wizard, young, foolish, and gullible, wandered across my path in the forest. I had my own. Oh, he seemed the very chance I had been dreaming of, for he was a teacher at Dumbledore's school. He was easy to bend to my will. He brought me back to this country, and after a while I took possession of his body to supervise him closely as he carried out my orders. But my plan failed. I did not manage to steal the philosopher's stone. I was not to be assured immortal life. I was thwarted once again by Harry Potter.
A lot of info here. A lot of info. He existed, but I waited in vain. Only my one power I could possess the body of others. Okay, so he was like something. He was a something, and he willed himself slowly to power. No, wait. I sometimes inhabit animals. Yeah, okay. The means return. A young, foolish wizard. Okay, so... okay, gotcha. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what was happening here. So he got zapped away. He died, basically, but his essence kind of remained, and he forced himself to exist. Why or know that none of the Death Eaters finding me and reviving me, he came across a young wizard, which was, what was his face now? A turban guy who wore a turban the whole time. Came upon him, manipulated his mind, and then started possessing his body and became his second head. And this is all stuff she had figured out from the very beginning. Man. Because this is planned out, man. This is planned out. Quirrell, that was it. Silence once more. Nothing was stirring, not even the leaves on the yew tree. The Death Eaters were quite motionless, the glittering eyes in their masks fixed upon Voldemort and upon Harry.
The servant died when I left his body, and I was left as weak as I'd ever been.
Voldemort continued.
I returned to my hiding place far away, and I would not pretend to you that I didn't then fear that I might never regain my powers. Yes,
That was perhaps my darkest hour. I could not help that I would be sent another wizard
to possess, and I'd given up hope now that any of the Death Eaters cared about what had become of me.
One or two of the masked wizards in the circle moved uncomfortably, but Voldemort took no notice.
And then, not even a year ago, when I had almost abundant hope, it happened at last. A servant returned to me, Wormtail here, who had faked his own death to escape justice, was driven out of hiding by those he had once counted friends and decided to return to his master. He sought me out in the country where it had been long rumored I was hiding, helped, of course, by the rats he had met along the way. Wormtail has a curious affinity with rats, do you not, Wormtail? His filthy little friend told him there was no place deep in an Albanian forest that they avoided, where small animals like themselves had met their deaths by a dark shadow that possessed them. But his journey back to me was not so smooth, was it, Wormtail? For hungry one night, on the edge of the very forest where they had hoped to find me, he foolishly stopped at an inn for some food. And whom should he meet there but one Bertha Jorkins, a witch from the Ministry of Magic.
Wormtail ran into Bertha Jorkins. At some point. It wasn't planned yet, right? Oh wait, before he got to him, he met Bertha. Okay, great. Now, yeah, right. Wormtail was chatting with his rat friends, and that's how he found Voldemort. Oh gosh, I still got... Okay, got.
Now you see the way that fate favors Lord Voldemort. This might have been the end of Wormtail, and of my last hope for regeneration. But Wormtail, displaying a presence of mind I would not have expected of him, convinced Bertha Jorkins to accompany him on a nighttime stroll. He overpowered her. He brought her to me, and Bertha Jorkins, who might have ruined all, proved himself to be a gift beyond my wildest dreams. But with a little persuasion, she became a veritable mine of information. She told me that the Triwizard Tournament will be playing at Hogwarts this year. She told me that you knew of a faithful Death Eater who would be only willing to help me if I could only contact him. She told me many things, but the means I used to break the memory charm upon her were powerful. And when I had extracted all useful information from her, her mind and body were both damaged beyond repair. She now had served her purpose. I could not possess her. I disposed of her.
Voldemort smiled his terrible smile, his red eyes blank and pitiless.
Wormtail's body, of course, was ill-adapted for possession, as all assumed him dead, and would attract far too much attention if seen. However, it was the able-bodied servant I needed, and wizard that he is, Wormtail was able to follow the instructions I gave him, which would return to a rudimentary, weak body of my own. A body I would be able to inhabit while awaiting the essential ingredients for true rebirth. A spell or two of my own invention. A little helpful for my dear Nagini.
Voldemort's red eyes fell upon the continually circling snake.
A potion
unconked from its corner.
A potion unconked from unicorn blood and the snake venom Nagini provided. I was soon returned to an almost human form and strong enough to travel. There was no hope of stealing the Philosopher's Stone anymore, for I knew that Dumbledore would have seen to it that it was destroyed. But I was willing to embrace mortal life again. Before chasing immortal, I set my eyes higher. I would set myself for my old body back again, and my old strength. I knew to achieve this, it is an old piece of dark magic, the potion that revived me tonight.
I would need 3 powerful ingredients. Well, one of them was already at hand, was it not, Wormtail? Flesh given by a servant.
My father's bone, naturally, meant that we would have to come here, where he was buried, with the blood of a foe. Wormtail would have used any wizard, would you not, Wormtail? Any wizard who had hated me, as so many of them still do. But I knew the one I must use.
Yeah, Voldemort is long-winded.
If I was to rise again, more powerful than I had been when I had fallen, I wanted Harry Potter's blood. I wanted the blood of the one who had stripped me for 13 years ago. For the lingering protection his mother once gave him would then reside in my veins too. But how to get at Harry Potter? For he had been better protected than I think even he knows. Protected in ways devised by Dumbledore long ago, when it fell to him to arrange the boy's future. Dumbledore invoked an ancient magic to ensure the boy's protection as long as he in his relation's care. Not even I can touch him there. Then, of course, there was the Quidditch World Cup. I thought his protection might be weaker there, away from his relations and Dumbledore, but I was not yet strong enough to attempt kidnap in the midst of a horde of ministry wizards. And then the boy would return to Hogwarts, where he is under the crooked nose of that muggle-loving fool from morning until night.
Voldy soup.
So how could I take him?
Why? By using Bertha Jorkin's information, of course.
Use one. My own faithful Death Eater, stationed at Hogwarts, to ensure that the boy's name was entered into the Goblet of Fire. Use my Death Eater to ensure that the boy won the tournament. That he touched the Triwizard Cup, the cup which my Death Eater had turned into a board key, which would bring him here, beyond the reach of Dumbledore's help and protection, and into my waiting arms. And here he is! The boy you all believed had been my downfall.
Voldemort moved slowly forward and turned to face Harry. He raised his wand.
Crucio!
It was pain beyond anything Harry had ever experienced. His very bones were on fire. His head had surely splitting along his scar. His eyes were rolling madly in his head. He wanted it to end, to block it out, to die. And then it was gone. He He was hanging limply in the ropes, binding him to the headstone of Voldemort's father, looking up into those bright red eyes through a kind of mist. The night was ringing with the sound of the Death Eater's laughter. "You see, I think, how foolish it was to suppose that this boy could ever have been stronger than me," said Voldemort.
"But I want there to be no mistake in anybody's mind. Harry Potter escaped me by a lucky chance, and now I'm going to prove my power by killing him, here and now, in front of you all, when there's no Dumbledore to help him, and no mother to die for him. I will give him his chance. He will be allowed to fight, and you will be left in no doubt which of us is the stronger. Just a little longer, Nagini," he whispered, and the snake glided away through the grass to where the Death Eaters stood watching. "Now untie him, Wormtail, and give him back his wand."
End of the chapter. Whoa, wee! There was a lot of stuff in there. I don't know how to process it all. That was a lot. Holy smokes. There was so much monologuing. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna lay it down for you. Here it is." Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was exposition, and just solved all the answers. I didn't solve all the answers. There's still a whole bunch left unanswered. But yeah, wow. From Cedric dying to his body being resurrected, to this whole thing revealing all these Death Eaters and now zapping him and modeling like crazy, it was a lot. You should reread the chapter by yourself to process it. Don't tell me what to do, Zainab. You're not my mom, but I probably will. That was so intense. Okay, let's get some questions. If you haven't finished by the time the pandemic is over, will you continue reading to us? No, the day the pandemic stops, I stop. You know, because this is just about the pandemic for me. It is not. I'm going to continue reading. I'm setting up more stuff here so that makes the readings better. I'm setting up lights and some sound. It's just taking forever, but it's going to be worth it, and I want to keep on reading. That's what I want to do. Maybe reread because of info up. I will. Who put the memory charm on Bertha that Voldemort broke through? That was Wormtail, because he ran into her, right? That's what I think they said. Who would you rather fight, 10 tiny Voldemorts or one giant one? Oh man, I would probably fight. I'm gonna put on something else. There we go. I would fight 10 tiny Voldemorts, because aren't his spells tinier too? That's what I would who I would fight. Let me just play for you Nathan's music that he made. This is for when I drink water. Come on now. Some water. Okay. And here's the one when I make a premonition. So just a hint of what I'm gonna be doing coming up when I have everything set up. All right, thank you, Nathan, for creating those beautiful memories. Lucius Malfoy is Voldemort's slippery friend. Who's your slipperiest friend? I would actually say it's you, Nathan. I mean, look at your eyes. Me and Nathan have a fun ex-roommate relationship. Very blissful. Thoughts on Voldemort's logic on loyalty? Subjugation. That's all he wants. Pure subjugation. It's like a military thing. Oh, this is a long one. Would you kindly do reactions to the movies after you finish the books? We would love to hear your opinion on them. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. I'd love to see the movies and compare what I had in my mind versus what's on in the book. You should reread chapters again. Yeah, I will. I will. Thanks. Thank you. What is what Voldemort said about immortality mean? What did he say again? That's why I have to reread it. Probably noticing this in the moment, but I can't remember right now. What else we got? Who would you, Nathan again? Who would you rather have to kill? 10 tiny Cedrics or one giant one? 10 tiny Cedrics, over and over. Okay, friends, that was cool. Cool, 2 chapters. Check out the Patreon in my bio and my link if you want to hear and listen to other chapters. Man, that was fun. That was really fun. That was a great reading, and lots to process. I'm probably gonna go through this again to see what I missed out on, because I bet I missed out on some information. Thank you again. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock once again for some more Conk's Corner. Bye bye now.